So, my current painting project will unfortunately be a longer one.
I know, it's another Dead Watch model, but as I want him to be as crisp and clean as possible, I will have to strip him from paint, sand, then prime again, and then paint by parts, and not all of the model at once as I have done previously. Therefore, to keep the content flowing, I would like to give you a few short videos that will take not much effort to record or put together.
Let's start with a very important one. 5 things that I recommend that make me a better painter.
Number 1. The wet palette.
Oh boy, how to make this short and concrete. Oh yeah, I know how to phrase it. You're you don't have a wet palette. It's such a life changer. Paint and time saver.
Just have a look at this short comparison between a metallic and a wet palette. I use the Redgrass one and it's bonkers. The paint is usable during the whole painting session, mixing paints is easy, I can paint the next day as well, and I can make glazes on my palette directly. Paint usage after some practice is minimal, etc, etc. Just for anyone who would look at what is happening on the screen and would not have any idea of what is going on, let me explain. I poured some black paint onto the wet palette and a normal palette. I am showing how the paint looks like after some time in approximately 5-minute breaks. The goal here is to show how quick the paint dries out on a normal palette. Don't get me wrong, I have nothing against using normal palettes, but this seems so more comfortable and efficient. If you have the skills to paint in 30 minutes, cheers mate. My painting session lasts sometimes hours and can be divided into a few days. This is where the palette shines, because the paint is still usable the next day and even the days after that. As you can see, the paint on the normal palette is already gone. It is spread out thin and not watered down, but nevertheless, this would not extend its usability to such a state as on the wet palette. One bonus clip here. This is how the paint looked like after more or less 24 hours sitting in both palettes. Number 2. A good detail brush.
You can get off with a medium brush.
I have many brushes, a lot of them. So let's try to figure out if all of them are necessary or is this a waste of money. I categorize my brushes as follows: the good synthetic brushes, the precise detail brushes that I use most often, the detail brushes that I bought and I don't use, cheap shit synthetic brushes, dry brushes, and last but not least, the old worn out ones.
Of course, they all have a purpose, but you really need 3 or 4 brushes maximum. Now, of course, this means that you will probably have to buy them more often, but you will never in your lifetime pay as much as I paid for all of those brushes that I have currently.
Have a look at old trusty Bob. I can paint his shoulder pad with an old worn out brush. Some mistakes were made here and there, and the paint is very thin. It would need a second layer, but it is doable. Now have a look at me painting some details with a Kolinsky brush. It is, in my personal opinion, superb. The first one lasted me more than 2 years with correct usage and cleaning. This is the second one I have in the size 1. It has a very sharp tip and allows me to make small dots on the model or paint inscriptions on purity seals. Of course, a good tool will be great in the hands of a veteran painter, but you will feel the difference instantly. Look up some recommended detail brushes, test them, and get one for constant use. Number 3. A good light source.
Well, we need to talk about this because, for example, I have a very dim light in the room. Very dark and very cold.
I use this hobby arch lamp for painting and crafts from Green Stuff World. And a lamp recommended by my fiance's friend who paints nails. Both of them have 6000 to 6400 Kelvin lights, and I can switch between cool, warm and a medium tone. Just have a quick look at this model. First you see it without both of those lights. Now I'm adding the arch light. And finally the desk lamp plus the arch light.
So I need a very strong and very warm light for my painting sessions. My eyesight is unfortunately not the best, and those lights help not only to paint the models but also to see all of the details on them. Get one or two maybe of such lamps, or get light bulbs that are 6500 Kelvins or something like that. You will thank me later.
Number 4. Not too many paints.
I really have nothing against any specific brand of paints. I use acrylics, I use oil paints, all of them are okay.
But have a look at my paint stock. That's probably more than 150 bottles of different paints. How many do I really use? Maybe 20 constantly?
If you have just a few basic paints that are well pigmented enough, you can mix all of the other shades that you need.
Now this is a pretty nifty accessory. I use it very often. It is a pocket color wheel. It rotates in some parts and shows you what color do you get after mixing in, for example, red, yellow, blue, white and black to other paints. It also tells you which colors are complementary, split complementary, triad, etc, etc. If those rules are followed, you will get something that fits together in terms of shades on the model. I am not good at mixing colors, so don't consider this as a lesson, just a demonstration by a medium skilled dude. I use the pocket color wheel when I want to get a shade that I do not currently have in my inventory. But have just a quick look of what can be achieved just from the three primary colors, which are blue, yellow and red or magenta. I used a magenta here. When you start mixing them, you get secondary colors, then tertiary colors. They can be both tinted to the warm and cold spectrum by other paints. You can darken them down by using violet, blue or green, or make them warmer, for example by adding yellow, orange or red. All of those can be made from mixing primary colors, believe me. Mixing paints will make you a better painter and give you a better understanding of the color theory. And I mean it, you will improve your color schemes greatly. Number 5. Various models.
So, what do I mean by that? If you want to paint an army, for example, of let's say Space Marines, then please skip this point. But if you want to improve as a painter, make it as diverse as possible.
Have a quick look at some of the models I painted on the channel and before that. They are almost all different in some way. What I want to state here is that if you paint one type of models and one color scheme, that is of course fine. You will probably become very proficient or even master it very quickly, but painting very different models will get you further and even develop your skills when you will come back to your primary army. I have a few armies to paint from Warhammer 40k and fantasy, but before I get to them I want to paint as much of as many types of miniatures as possible and then apply the lessons learned there.
Enjoy as many various models as you can and you will definitely improve as a painter. So thanks a lot for watching this video. Hope this was even a bit insightful to you. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe. I would of course appreciate if you could have a look at my Patreon and my Instagram. Both links are visible right now at the moment and will be also visible in the video description. So take care guys, and see you shortly in the next video.